everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Lan. I am a associate lecturers of fashion team and specialize in fashion marketing. And I'm very glad to see you guys here and those who live stream on Facebook. So today is the second day of Vietnam Festival of Creativity and Design. And while Hanoi is very rich in cultures, in Ho Chi Minh City, we are well known for being creativity in commerce. And in the last few years, e-commerce and e-wallet has become or growing very fast, not because of the proven as an effective platform, but also it's a space for a lot of creativity, especially for the local brands. So today, I'm very glad to invite Phạm Thông, and he is marketing director of ZaloPay and was the former CMO of Lazada, and also a good friend of mine, and he said recently. And he will in 1 hour. Oh, before that, I apologize that we start late. So in that 1 hour, he will share with us the snapshot of the e-commerce and e-wallet in Vietnam and a few case studies of the successful activities of local brands. So please give a big applause to our guest speaker, Phạm Thông.
Thank you, Jilan, for inviting me in this workshop. Actually, I've not been in the workshop for a very long time, so please excuse me if my English is a bit weird. And if you see me shaking, it's not about I'm scared. It's like it's really cold in this way. Okay, because the topic today is more about the creativities, and I'm more like the business people, so I'm try to take some case studies, some learning to share with you guys on how the brands in Vietnam are using the creativities to approach in the commerce wine. But before we jump into it, here is the agendas we have today. I will give you a bit snapshot on the e-commerce and payment in Vietnam, and it could be a very good understanding of the digital wines. It's grown very, very fast recently, and even in this year of the COVID, the growth of that is even faster. And then we come to a bit more how the brands use creativities, especially in some areas of the music, of the ads, and the games into the commerce wine. So let's start with this, the e-commerce in Vietnam. We have some numbers, the boring numbers, but it's always good to looking at. So Vietnam is a very potential market for the e-commerce in general. We starting the e-commerce somewhere in 2012 when we have Vật Giá, we have like the local brand model listing product, but the official, how to say, like the true platform starting when we have Tiki, Lazada and Shopee and Sendo joining on the market. We have the good fundamentals of the people really active on the internet, more than 68 million users on the internet by now. And the people also adopt very quickly on the e-commerce. For now, we already have almost 55 million of users using internet to shop. And we have the e-commerce is at the beginning, it's a very, very tiny. A lot of brands just think that the e-commerce is just the place to listing the product. You know, like the online brochure. They not really think that it can really shop on that. But now the shopping online is something very normal. And the gross merchandising values is already $3 billion US, and they expect it to be double in the next couple of years. So the growth of that, it's almost double every year. And we have the big brands, not just the local brands. We have Tiki and Sendo, and on the regional side, we have Lazada and Shopee. All of them still need to, it's a very, very competitive market, I can say, because we have a lot of big players like Lazada and Shopee. Behind them have the Alibaba Group, which is like the number 1, number 2 e-commerce in the whole world. And Shopee also have a very big footprints across the Southeast Asia. So that's why for the local brands like the Tiki and Sandals, if they want to catching up with that, they need to work really hard and get a lot of fundings internally within countries and also outside. Go along with that, the e-commerce growth also help a lot of the digital markets in general to increase as well. And one of that would be the payment. When you think about the e-commerce, it could be like people transaction to buy and shop the things online. But when we're looking at the payment, the market is actually much bigger because it's not just about the physical product anymore. The people can use payment to do a lot of things. They can transfer the money, they can pay for the services, and that's why the payment platform actually captures so much more portions of the spending of the user. So, and when the e-commerce starting in about 2012, later on, it's about 2013 things, we see a lot of e-wallets start happening in the market. In Vietnam, for now, we have already 28 of the wallets. Like every big companies, they have their own wallets to serve their own ecosystem. So I can tell like the payment platform is actually even more competitive than the e-commerce itself. And just have some numbers about that. We already have 50 million of people using it. And the values, the GMVs transfer through the payments itself, is you can see is like 3 times higher than the e-commerce, and also grow very fast. And people adopt more and more. We have some big name, for example, like Momo, GrabPay, ZaloPay, VietelPay, and so on, like 38 of that. It's very, very aggressive market. And we have pictures of how fast is the payment in Vietnam is growing. Here is the column I will tell you a little bit more. We have the blue bar. The blue bar here is the number of card issue in Vietnam. And you see in 2019, we have like almost 150 million cards. It means that one people have more than one card. So people, because you know, you can have like multiple cards, like for one ATM, like the credit card, debit card, international card, and things so on. So that's why the card in Vietnam, it's very, very big. But a part of that will be the credit card. It's very small. By now, it just have 5 million. But when you see the numbers of wallet in Vietnam, it's increased very fast. When it's starting from 2013 somewhere, it just have like 2 million. But for now, we already have like more than 20 million account active. So with that, it's both e-commerce and payment. It's become the platform. It's become the place for the big brands, the big companies to join it in. It gives so much more opportunities, not just for big brands, but also for the local, for the SME to be joined. But just like any other market, you need to be adapt. You need to be understand on how the consumer behave on that. And you need to be flexible and use your creativities, use your resourceful to make sure that you win in the markets. So the next part of the presentation will be more tied up with the workshop we have today, which is Vietnam Creativities and Design. So I will try to pick the use case. It's not so much of the commercial side, but it's more like they use the music, the color, the pictures, the creativities to win the consumer heart. But before we jump into it, we have the question, why? Why we have to use the creativities in here? Why the e-commerce and payment cannot be just as transactions, right? When we look at the US cultures and Asian cultures in general, we see a very difference. For the US cultures, the commercials, the payment is very transactional. It's very dry, you know, like the people go to Amazon, they shopping, everything is the process, the company make it very quick, very simple, just one click. You see, like for example, Amazon, you are subscribed for the Prime, they have just one click to buy. So they try to remove all the frictions out of it, so make the transaction as fast as possible. The same for the payment. You see the PayPal, you see Vimeo, the things like that, they have, you know, the transaction is very short. They forget all of that part. But in the Asia, it's the completely different. It's so much more colorful and cultural in the way they do commercials here. And I have a chance to talk when Alibaba acquired Lazada. I have a chance to join the meeting when Jack Ma has been there, and he explained it's very clear, and I think it's a very interesting way to look at. He's used these pictures. You know, it's a very standard, normal pictures when we talk about the creativities, right? The people use left brain and right brain. For the left one, they think more logic, numbers, you know, analyze. But when it's come to the right brains is more creativities, it's more pictures, colorful imaginations, right? So Jack Ma told me, told the group, not just me, say that, okay, so when the people go shopping, what brain you want them to use, right? That's a very simple question, but it's opened up a lot of opportunities out there, and it's explained us a lot why the agents do so much crazy things on the e-commerce, right? When they use the left brain, they think about the price, the logistic, right? The transactional. They think, okay, do I really need it or not? How much is the price? What is the cost that I need to pay for the logistic? And what is the timing that I got it, right? So they analyze the product, they analyze the transactions, right? And when it's doing like that, it will be slimmed down your margins. When they always think about the promotion, the cost, the price, cut the vouchers and things, they use the left brain, your margin is slimming down. And actually, they only buy the things that they need, right? But when they use the right brain, the picture is very different. It's what we call is impulsive. You know, when it's come to cosmetic, fashions, and so on, we sell the thing that they desire. So when they use the right brains, when they look at the music, or they're hearing the music, look at the colorful, beautiful pictures, talk, interaction with the people, you know, they spend the money without analyzing. And that's why it's cost you a lot. Is it make sense? Yes. Yeah. And that's why you see, like, when you see, you research for a lot of activities of the Alibaba or other players in Southeast Asia or the whole Asian in general, they plays a lot with these areas. And our topic today will discuss about this plan, right? I don't have any slide on that, but this is still very important. This is still like the fundamental of the e-commerce. You cannot do anything with the whole price, promotion, logistics to make it right. But if you want to exciting, you want to win over the offline market, you want to win all the other brands on the e-commerce and digital in general, this is the place where you tap in on, right? Okay, so that is the word people created recently. You hear it a lot. It's the shoppertainment. You shop and you entertain at the same time. The shop should be fun, because if not fun, and then you feel guilty, you feel like, okay, I'm wasting money. But people don't want you to feel that. They want you to spend it more. Okay, I feel guilty about that. So how they can doing it? But the things they use with the creativities, they triggers your right brains with the music and video, the ads and design, and the gamification. So the last part is very interesting. I will talk a little bit more about that. But these first two is very straightforward. Okay, I have a lot of case studies around here, but the tricky part here is like Yilan asked me to use the brand, Vietnamese brand, so that's why maybe it's not the best case you see on the market, because a lot of international companies have amazing work in these areas, but to make it more relevant on the workshop we have in here, so the whole things I do it here is very local. The first one, the music. Okay, look at this one, and can you tell me what brand is it? Tiki, right? It's very, very famous on that. It's like the best brands that use, it's like, even we can say the word abuse. You know, like even now, they use so much like that. It's like you hardly find any music video that without Tiki in that. So, you know, when you see the new video, a lot of fans of music, they just starting to search. So they say, where is the Tiki? If the Tiki is not there, maybe the music is not that good. I'm like, okay. But the features is everywhere. And you know, the features is very straightforward. They just the placement. It's not something new in the market, but no brands in other place they actually use it that much. You know, it's become the whole campaign. They say it's like Tiki go along with stars. Is it? I'm not sure about the translation, but it's something like that. So basically, they talk to all the celebrities in Vietnam. Whenever you have the MV, you come to Tiki, and we do the sponsor. And the format of the product featuring is very short and straightforward, but it come very, very impressive. So even the CFO, he's the guy who's spending the money, he say that the returns on investment of the video sponsorship here is 20 times better than the normal ads of YouTube. The financial guys, not the marketing guys. Right? So that's why, but what is the calculation? I think it's very straightforward. When you have the brands in that, the cost of sponsorship for the one video is much cheaper than if you do it by yourself. And also it's already, you don't need to waste the money on the media anymore, because when the celebrities, they have the fans watching it, not just one time, but so many times. So that's why when you combine it and you compare the viewership of the music videos toward the YouTube ads, and the cost actually is very, very low. So that's why they keep doing it, and now it's like they block a lot of brands. It gives the difficulty to another brands to actually use the celebrities influencer. So that's also a very smart way to join into this one, right? The first use case. And it's come a bit further. So the music, the entertainment, watching with the people is not enough. So now the trends on the e-commerce is the social commerce. When we thought about a social commerce, is the interactions between the people to people. And one of the facts that not many people know is that Facebook actually is the biggest platform of e-commerce in Vietnam. Not Lazada, not Shopee, not Tiki, but it's the Facebook, right? And you go to the Facebook and you see like a lot of product featurings, and even the Facebook itself now, they develop a lot of new features to support on that sectors. They have the marketplace already. They have the ads to just features to selling the product. They have the conversations to connect the sellers and buyer, and it's become something very big. And the other companies also go along with that things when they have, for example, like the chatbots, or the big players in the market, they also embed the direct conversation between sellers and buyers into their platform. For example, the brands doing it very well is Shopee. When you come into that, right, you can talk directly with the sellers, and actually you can do the bargain. Try it yourself, right? You come, you select the product, you talk to the brand, and they will do the discount directly in the chat. It's kind of funny. And it's come to live stream, right? It solves a lot of problems. It's a big trend now. Especially when you look at a case study in China, some big celebrities on the live stream, they can make $1 million in short periods of time, right? It's become phenomenal. And the video is also come to Vietnam. It's starting with a very small SME sellers, just like that, right? They sell the clothes thing, they sell the weirdo stuff, even the fake product and things, but it's become the trends. The people actually enjoy to watching it because they can see what is the product look like. They can have the conversations, and sometimes it's become a entertaining shows. Right? They're just not being there to sell the product. They sing, they dance, they do the game bones thing in that. It's a bit, very funny to watching them as well. And it's come to the celebrities. The celebrities also been the live streamers. They become the sellers. They do it more, and actually they can sell it a lot. If you know the numbers, you will be surprised on that. And the big brands is also need to be participate on that. Otherwise, they will lose their consumer toward the streaming platform. So you open the type of Shopee or Lazada or Tiki for now. You see the live. It's become the permanent features of that. It's a very important features. So people it's very duplicate from platform to platform, but it's become like the real things now. And the live stream, it's become bigger and bigger, We have it's starting from the whole section with the KOL, with the lighting set up just like this, and then they're watching to do the live stream. They can place the order directly when they see the product features on the screen, and it's become the whole show, really hot music, entertaining and stuff, and it's even bigger to become a very big event. For example, in last 11/11, right, you see the huge event when they have the top 8 tiers, they do the live streaming, and at the peak time, it have more than 800,000 people watching CCU. It's just phenomenal, right? That's how it's impact. It's not just for fun. It's the real things, and the sales of that one day is normally about 20 times bigger than the day of non-sales, right? I'm not saying that it's just because of the music live stream here, but a lot of factors working in together. But here is the key hook to drive the people in and close the deal in that period. All right, that's about the music. We come to the second part. That's the ear, right? And here is the look. It's no surprise when the fashion brands, it's starting with this one, because the look of those brands is very important. People admire the design, admire the look. And I think the brands in Vietnam that work the best, my favorite brands of old times, and I always admire their work in these areas to when they bring the design into their product and they smartly blend it with the e-commerce activities to make it more stunning. And they really know how to capture the trend, the social activities. When they see whatever happening, they bring it directly into their design. Here is one of the example when Vietnam U23 they winning the football teams and they're immediately doing it. They just do the design, you see, and actually they not even produce it yet. They just do the design and they do the pre-orders. That's another smart way to manage the stock, manage the, when you do the fashions, one of the very important, you maybe sells a lot, but the leftover is maybe cost you. Maybe all the profits will be burned away when you have, when you produce it so much. And the e-commerce have to solve that problems. When they come to the listing is online, they have the people to pre-orders. And they calculate, they use the data to calculate how many size is it, what is the color they like, how much they need to produce, what is the timing to deliver on that, and that's help them to smarter planning for their manufacturing, right? And it's come even further. The design of dummy chains, they collab with the artists, the underground artists to design it to make it more relevant with the young adult, and it's come with a very, very local, right? Because when it talks to the big brands, they need to compete with the whole international brand like Adidas or the Nike. They cannot just compete directly. So the way they do it, they have the advantage of really knowing the Vietnamese cultures, design, the people, the behavior. So that's why they bring it up to hold their design. And here is one of my favorite recently. Let's watch a video, if it's played. Can you help on that? Yeah, I don't know how to make it play.
Chất Hà Nội. Không phải người Hà Nội à? Chắc gì hiểu được. Hà Nội nóng á thì phát rồ, còn lạnh thì ôi thôi tím tái. Diêu phong văn hóa nghìn năm, tuổi trẻ ngược lại. Thì sao nào? Hà Nội mà đã chủ tâm làm gì á thì đấy cần biết đến xung quanh. Chút lơ đễnh, vẻ lãng mạn, ngấm vào máu. Cứ điêu luyện như một kỹ năng. Đã điên ấy, phải điên đến nơi, cho ra cái chất điên. Hà Nội không vội, nhưng cũng chẳng biết đến nửa vời. Tận cùng táo bạo, tận cùng ngọt ngào, tưởng đắng cay, nhưng vẫn cạnh lắm. Giữa bê tông cốt thép vẫn nung nấu chất thơ. British Hunter Street, cảm hứng từ những thái cực văn hóa Hà Nội. Tận cùng hoài cổ, tận cùng chất thơ, tận cùng đổi mới. Hà Nội đấy, một mảnh tôi. Còn bạn, mảnh Hà Nội trong bạn là gì? Tự hào Made in Vietnam, British Hunter Street.
You see, like they really know how to make the difference in terms of their design to make like the Vietnamese, make the people that proud when they wear the shoes from BTS, and it's make very stunning one. You can see the whole the details on what is the ties in that, the crab, the blankets, on the streets and things to plan into it. And one of the interesting part about this product is if it's another brand and then it's not mentioned, right? But this one is when they design, they will starting with the e-commerce, because this is the target audience of them, right? It's you hardly to find it in the offline. Now they already roll it out, but this is a very unique, very bold design. It's not for everyone, right? This is like for the brand building purpose at the beginning, right? So when they starting doing it, they want to put it online to people observe. Maybe when you go to the shop, you not really exactly purchase this part. It's not the best selling, but it still like brings you the image, and the e-commerce is the best way for you to try the new things, to test, to manage but not to burn so much on that. And they bring it even further, right? It's not just become one of the brands. They build it's become the whole campaign. And one interesting about this is like they invite another Vietnamese brand to join into it. They create the Proudly Made in Vietnam campaign. And you see they starting to work with another very, very famous brand, for example, like Thiên Long or Minh Long one. They're not really the brands for the online at the beginning, right? For example, like the Minh Long, they don't really sell much of the things online, but the whole peer things here, when they see that it's actually work in one brand, it can be umbrellas, they can work together to collapse and make like the whole collections to make the unique selling point. It's not just for one, but it can be the campaign. It can be bigger to become the movement of the whole countries to work to buy toward the Vietnam products. Here is another case. This is quite interesting, right? It's not just the physical product. Both whole things here is more like the physical, but this one is more like the service things. And I guess you all know that the coffee house. In 2020, we have a big hit of the COVID, right? The store is closed, people is blocked out, and then they impact a lot on their business, right? And another part of the business is like the trends of the food delivery companies, like foodies, like Grabs and things. So that's why a lot of the delivery food is become the trends. But when you're selling on other platforms, you don't have the data of the consumer. You depends on the promotion activities on other platform, and also that it's right so much on the promotion. It's too much of the brain, the left brains on that platform. So that's why they want to make the difference, because they want to use the technologies to build their own applications and to solve that, to have the connection with the consumer. But one of the smart things they do is using this one, right? They have, they're not just selling the coffee. They also use the seasonal activities. They're selling the mooncake. And with the mooncake, it's not just to sell the mooncake, but actually they want to drive the consumer when buying the mooncake, but also curious about the whole coffee things to download the apps. And after they have the apps, they can actually become more loyalty to the brands. And they create, I think it's a very stunning art, and also blend it with the technologies. And it's a very surprise that the brand, a coffee can actually doing this kind of qualities. And let's have a look on that. It's a very long video, so that's why I'm not gonna be show you the whole story. If you want to interest in that and just looking up for that online. Let's have play. Please pay attention to the productions here, the qualities of the detail, the storytelling, the visual, the image, the sounds, the effect of that. It's the global standard. Not many brands in Vietnam can actually doing it. And I have a chance to talk to the productions house. They spent 6 months to doing it. Okay, let's move on. The next one. Okay, even the advertising wise is already amazing executions. Very good storytellings, and the way they make it is to very local, very but it's in a very fresh and modern way to tell the story about a mooncake, about củi. I don't know how to translate that. But it's also blend it very well with the product. And it's look like this. You know, the people actually, they buy the product, they buy the mooncake. This is just the box of the mooncake, but it's integrated with the book, right? You open it and you can tell the story. But the story here is very short. It's not like the whole full story as you're just watching. And they use with the technologies. And that's how the smart is coming in, right? If you want to see the whole story here, you need to download the apps. And when you scan in on that, I don't have the visualize for this one, but I think you can watch it online. When you scan it on that, and then it starts telling you story, page by page, very vivid, very interesting. And it's also well blend with the target audience of the young audience, right? And the people is not just buy the mooncake, it's buy the whole story, the whole experience of that. And they win in the both sides on the selling the story of the brands, and also telling the people to install the app. And in the futures, they become the customers of the whole coffee chains. So that is one of the brands that I think it's a very interesting way to put it at, and they really deliver the message in a very interesting way. Okay, and here you have the final part of that, is the game. And I think one of the words recently be talking a lot is the gamifications. The definition of that is very simple. You use the game to modify, to manipulate the behaviors of consumer, to make the things that they are playing game. It's interesting, right? When you talk about the very first slide, when I talk about the left brain and the right brain. So here you want the consumer, they're shopping, but they think they are playing game. Well, and then they shop a lot. It's a part of the bigger, they have a book on that, but I don't will go very details on this part. Is the growth hacking. So the game is not just, ask the people to play the game for the sake of that, but it's like the whole frameworks behind that. So it's the blend of the three components. The first one is the creative, with the modding, something funny, something insightful, and it's very well blends with the technologies. You need to make the product, the flow is smooth. It's not just to play, but what is the next step? What is the reward that you give to them? How after they play the game, how you can connect their activities toward the purchase to make the transactions. So that's a very important. And the final part is you need to have the captures data of every of that to know what is the play, how to can modify on that, who the people who plays, what the price that you give at any stage of that. So the whole things here is you have the sweet part of that is growth hacking. And when we design, actually when we do it, it's happened a lot in the payment platform. So the case study I have in here is from ZaloPay. So excuse me for a bit advertising on that part. But when we design the game like this, it's quite, it needs to be serve the purpose of the brands, especially for ZaloPay at the beginning, we want to acquire the user. We want to retain that user. That's two specific metrics that we're looking at. And we need to design the game in the way that it can grab the consumer to play it. And here is the motivation. We call it the core drives. So why the people playing game? If you ask yourself that question, is quite interesting as well, right? Is it just for fun? What is the motivation beside that? And even a lot of people, they actually spend a lot of money to game. I'm from VNG. I'm very surprised every day that a lot of people, they spend like 100 million Vietnam dong per month just to playing game, right? So that's the whole ideas of that is bring into the gamification activities we designed for ZaloPay. And here is the main core. I will not gonna walk you through all of that. Is a lot of theories, and you can have a book on that as well. But for example, you play the game to achieve something. You may be the loser in your real life, but when you play the game, you can overcome other people. You take some trophies, some fake coins, and then you feel happy about that. That's one of the drive cores. Or for example, like the unpredictabilities. In the game, they always design something that you don't really know. You always bring the curiosities into that, right? For example, like the very small, funny game that we always know is like Lucky Wheel, right? When it spins, it starts to trigger you, like what's gonna happen, when it's gonna stop, what is the price that I withdraw out of it. So that's what the things they design in that. And another part, for example, like the social, when you see your friends is playing game, they winning some part, and then you also have your feeling that you want to participate in that as well. So here is the design of the whole things. We want to plan it to design the scheme of the game have some kind of this. If perfect, if it has the 08, the score, but at least it needs to be have enough of the motivation to people bring it in, and it is designed in the way to deliver the activities, the behavior we want from the consumer. And here is examples of the, can you have to play? The one of the study case we do during TED is already explained itself, so just have watch it out.
Traditionally, home brands could be very handy. With the booming of mobile payments, Lazy is slowly being modified. Last year, ZaloPay recorded more than 500,000 Lazy transactions. This year, the challenge is to surpass last year's performance while continuing to acquire more new users. We also needed to sustain our campaign during 1 month with deep impacts and interactions. Introducing Chiao an AR-X live piggy bank that eats your reward points and explodes to give you a surprise gift by the end of the campaign. The campaign starts with a hunt of piggy, calling on the participation of millions of online users from online to offline. Through a series of outdoor and online apps, we invite users to catch El Chiu Dai, the piggy painted in elaborate graffiti designs at more than 30 Insta-worthy spots in the city. The bigger the pig, the better. When the time is up, users shake the phone to unveil more surprise gifts. By combining social with gamifications and unique creative devices, we successfully surpassed last year's tip by 400% on the number of transactions generated. The campaign earned enormous fan support and mentions. Our social fan base across Zalo and Facebook increased by 20% with new members, making this, by far, the most successful tip campaign of ZaloPay.
Yeah, that's one of the campaign we do recently. And actually we have 4 rewards for that. It's explained a lot, because if we talk about the banking in general, it's quite dry and boring and, transaction, right? So that's why the gamification is really hard to break out of that. And we bring the consumer the new experience, especially for the TED. And you see, it's not just me. A lot of brands on the market, we can talk about our competitors like Momo or ViettelPay, they are also doing the very similar. So that's why it's very important that, and the people is more demanding. It's not just the boring app banking anymore. They want something very exciting. So the new way to do the transactions, to have friends and connect the people on the platform as well. So those things keep happening, and I think the trends of using the creativities in terms of e-commerce and payments will be continuous, and the brands will be participate more and more, and maybe in the next futures, and you can see a lot of more interesting use case. And maybe in next year, for example, I have a chance to share with you even more things. So thank you very much for listening. And I think that is for my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay. Move to the Q&A section. So the Q&A can be about 20 minutes, yeah? And it's open for us here and also the people who watch it online. So you will see me constantly look in the phone. It's not just I'm texting on Facebook, it's more like I'm looking what questions you have sending in. Let's think of a question. So while we have Thông here, we can ask as many as we can. And if the time's up and those questions that we cannot answer right away, we'll make sure that Thông will get back to us after this session. Okay, please welcome back, Thông. I just get my phone. Anyone have any questions yet? If not, I will start with the first question, Thông. It's a very interesting when you said e-commerce, the top one is not Lazada or Tiki, the top one is Facebook. That's a very new thing to me. And what you think, well, Facebook had been very popular in Vietnam for a very long time. So since when you think local brands start being active and become creative on e-commerce?
I think that's a very tricky question. I don't have the exact time date on when the brand starting doing it. But the story back then when I joined Lazada, and the e-commerce is very small. You know, most of the sales from the brands is come from the offline. It's like 99%. So that's why when we convince them to open the shop online, they already very hesitate because they say, I have the website. I don't even need the platform. I don't need the e-commerce anymore. If people like that, they can just go to the street. Why they need to stay at home? For the offline, you can try the product, you can experience that. So the experience so much better. So why is this online? So we, as when I'm joined Lazada, we also need to a lot of education. We need to work with a lot of partners. I think that's about 2015 when we have, but it's not starting with the local brand first. We have the big brands, for example, like Samsung, L'Oreal, they starting, and then they do a lot of very interesting commercial activities on that. And then we see a lot of brands follows on that trends. And now it's become very big, the serious business. Some of the big brands, the sales of online can be 20-30% of their overall sales already depend on the category. So when the sales is big enough, and then they put more effort and more thinking toward the e-commerce and the creativities, the budget, the spending is also go along. So I think it's somewhere that time, about 5-7 years ago.
Right. Wow. So that's when you start being involved in a senior position of Lazada, and then
it's not because of me.
I'm just about like, oh, can I make that conclusion because of you joining? Okay.
They also sells a lot on other platform as well, and I mean like when they do the strategies of them, it's not specific for one or two platform, but it's more like for the whole e-commerce market as as a strategy.
Right. Okay. Then my next question would be. Like you said, being in the senior position 3 years at Lazada as a CMO and 2 years now as a marketing director at ZaloPay, what changes you see in the consumer behavior towards e-commerce in Vietnam?
I think the change is a lot. I think even you look at yourself, your daily behavior, you can also see how much you changed for just last 5 years. Like now we don't really, for example, myself, in the past, whatever I needed things, I just go to the supermarket, and now I just easily to open it online. So the people now have more trust toward the e-commerce. They know how it's work. They know how to protect themselves from the fake product. They know what is the good size, what is the bad size, and it's changed. It's not just the trust itself, but in terms of the purchase behaviors. They're willing to buy the more expensive, more frequency, and the payment behavior is also different. When in the past 5 years, we call it the COD, the cash on delivery is like significant. It's like 90% of that. But now the people willing more to play is online, especially with the roles of the e-wallet, to make it more easy for people. And that's also shifted behaviors. I think people is more advanced, more tech savvy, and not just within the key cities, but if people outside of that, they also enjoy the benefit of e-commerce as well.
That's very true. I remember when we had lunch together before, like few years ago, when we started being a good friend, and then we split the bill, and Tom just like, do you have ZaloPay? I just, push the money to you, and we don't have cash. So cash become less and less. But you think the COD, the cash on delivery, is still a big part of e-commerce in Vietnam?
It's still. I guess that it's still about like 70% or 80% of the people still using it. So even though the online payment is grow very fast, but the cash is still being there, and it takes time for the people to change the behavior. And there's few things out of it. It's not just about the convenience of the payment itself, but it's also the feeling of the safety when paid online. For the COD is also have the benefit for the consumer. For example, that I can check the product, I can see if it, what I got when I see it's online or not. I can open it if I'm happy with that, and then I pay. If I pay it online, the whole return process is maybe troublesome. So that's why the cash is still the big portion, especially for the second tier. Like it's still be there.
Yeah. One of the information you have on the presentation that the credit card is like 5 millions of users in Vietnam, and the e-wallet is 20 millions, you said, and it's keep growing, right? So you think in this market in Vietnam that we will jump from cash to e-wallet and skip the credit card like China? What do you think?
I think it's very true. It could be the case, and I think with the adaptations of the pay e-wallet by now, I think it's already be surpassed the international cards, and there's few things out of it. In Vietnam, the portions of the credit card, it's still small, and another thing is like the penetration of the POS, the machine that accepts the card. It's still very limited. You can only go to kind of like the medium or high tiers, like the restaurant or the shopping malls, that you can actually use the POS. But when you go to the street market, the convenient, not convenience store, but like the grocery or the market store, and then you cannot using it, right? And so the cost to do the e-wallet at that place, to accept the e-wallet at that place, is actually cheaper when you can just print the QR code and then you can accept the payment immediately. Right. So that's how it's make it more convenient for, and everyone already have their phone in hand. So if you can connect to the internet, if you can top up the money into that, right? So why you need to use the card, right? So that's why I still think that maybe they not skip or like completely replace, but it will be grow, and I think that the e-wallets will be grow so much faster than the credit card itself.
Wow. Okay. I think it's make a lot of sense in that. Okay, guys. Yes, Tan.
Given the growth of e-wallets right now, so what do you think, in your opinion, what is the secret power for keeping consumer loyal in one particular e-wallet? Like me, for example, I'm having like 10 something e-wallets in my phone. Wow.
That's a very tricky questions to have, and to be we think about it a lot. For I already share with you that for now we have like 28, even more e-wallets, and every big companies in Vietnam have their own wallets, and they want to tie up the consumer with their platform, their own ecosystem, right? So every of them have the unique selling point to say, and I think it will be keep continue like that. It's not like one winner take it all. I think it's not the way of the e-wallet in Vietnam, but it's more like the several, and the people like you is still a lot on the market. People swap from one wallet to another one because everyone have the exclusive ecosystem. For example, if you using Grab, you cannot use other wallets into that. You use Shopee, you have AirPay. So right, so that's also how they keep the consumer, right? They keep growing their whole ecosystem, and you keep continue to using their wallet. So the brands that have the biggest, strongest ecosystem, and also have more creativities, technologies to support, and have the differentiate themselves with just another one, could be the people who win to get the biggest share on that. And for ZaloPay, that the strength we play around would be the chat app of Zalo. When you can send the money within the chat, you have the social effect out of it. So that could be the things, and with the chat, you open it every day. It's the frequency of that is so much more higher than other e-commerce. So that's why we hope that we can keep the consumer and not just acquiring, but also retain the user in the long-term period.
Okay, that's answered your questions. I think it's also the similar questions that we have online here. So what is your opinion regarding the goal of every e-commerce is to become a super app to satisfy every need? So I mean, as you just mentioned, that everyone have different effort try to make it suitable, and also depends on each company have a tie with different e-commerce, also e-wallet, so it's hard to being a dominant one, right? Very good. Anyone here, guys? Okay. Can you introduce your name and your background so at least we know where you're from, where you're coming from?
Hi everyone, I'm Phương, and thank you Anh Thông so much for the very inspiring talk on creativity in e-commerce. And I have a question. So from the case study that you have shown, which is the coffee house, we can see that the coffee house is creating their own application to their users. They not collaborate with any food delivery application, and they're creating their own. And also I have seen Unilever. They also building their own retailing platform called UShop. So do you think that in the upcoming years, some very, very big brands, they will leave the e-commerce to build their own retailing platforms?
Very interesting. Thank you, Thư.
Yeah, that's a very interesting. I don't have the specific answer for that. I think that's the trend, but it's not something new. The big brands that open the websites to start selling product, it's already been happen a lot in the market. But it's the pros and cons. It's when you open the website and selling just your product. Just image is like the offline store. You open the store just to selling Unilever product, right? The question is how you drive the consumer into that, and because you always be limited by the assortment of what you produce, right? But the people is not every time I want to shop that product specifically, right? That's the reason I still go to the supermarket. I still go to the shopping mall. And that place is you can, digitalize imaginations. It's like the e-commerce. You go to there to experience. You have a lot of things to experience and to try to shop, to see other things, to compare, right? It's not, you not always go to that. So I think the brand side, what we call, is still happening, is still being there, but it's just be one of the channel to sell it out. I think it's very hard to just leave out completely e-commerce. So that's my thinking.
I hope Thư is not scared. Thư, you scare Thông a bit. I think he's just make him worry that she get a job at ZaloPay still when Unilever and other companies try to do their own e-commerce. But I bet you will have another job, still have a job until the next 10 years. Okay, guys, anyone here, I can read out from the online one. Are there certain age or gender demographics that responded best to the piggy? Piggy?
No, what is the piggy?
The campaign.
Okay.
Oh gosh, I never heard that before. Was piggy popular with the whole customers base of ZaloPay? So what's the piggy again? Campaign.
Okay. For the whole gamification, of course, it's more to it's starting with the more young adults and early adopters, the tech-savvy people. So that's always be the core of the group that we tapping in. So if you follow our campaign, for example, the referral campaign, the collect flower campaign recently we always starting with that. But that's what we call is the sitting user. And the important part of the gamification is also to make it viral. So the people need to share. For example, if you want to earn a little bit more money, to bit more point or coin, and then you need to invite your friends to join the campaign. And and when your friends is like mapping the car or make a payment, and then you get extra things. So that's why the core group of the young and interesting and very tech savvy people is very important. It's have to try out the campaign. And for example, the campaign referral we do recently, and I don't even send to my mom, but after the viral and it's go around and around, and then my mom just asking me, is it what you are doing? And that's the point when you feel very proud of that.
Right. It's true. Okay, anyone have questions, guys, here? Yes.
Hello, thank you for your presentations that give me a lot of knowledge and insight for e-commerce, especially creativity. So my name is Van. I'm from School of Communication and Design. My major is communication. So I have a questions like in our topic today is about creativity in e-commerce. So I want to ask like how the brands will differentiate themselves from its competitors, like how to stand out when ensure customer attentions, where like on social media platform there's so much creative ads, and like all of them are so interesting and appealing to customer. So how to stand out, like whether researching consumer behavior or knowing their psychology, or like the brand will create a new trend. So how to stand out, because like customer, like they are sure there's so many. Yeah, thank you.
That's a very big question, and actually we have the job for that. What we call is marketing. so that's basically the job description of the whole marketing in the rooms, right? So when you join any companies, that the big challenge when your boss asks you like how you stand out, and it's a lot of framework out of that, but it's everything that you just mentioned, and the people who be more smarter, more resourceful, more understanding about the consumer to make the thing is more appealing. And you know, we don't have the simple formula to win it's all, but at the marketing as a whole is normally starting with understanding the landscape. It's from understanding the consumer, you know, get the consumer insight. The consumer insights could be from the interview, from the data, from the past campaign that you did. You know what is work, what is not work, and you get the learning out of that. You need to know what is the competitors, and then you make the positioning. You know, for example, the BTS here, you know, the positioning is very different when you compare it with the Nike or Adidas, right? You know, it's a very local, very design, very cultural. It's come with the deep local artists and things, and you know, that's the very strong positionings. When another brands maybe they use another one, for example, like very sporty, very pop cultures, very international of big brands. So you need to find that, and then you need to try to test this with the market, and then when you have the winning positions, and then the communication part will come is more easily. And the one part of that when it's come to the e-commerce is make thing for you to test is easier, you know, and the data, the information you collect from that, it's more directly and more quantified. That's the things where and you know, it's come a lot with the experience and as well. You know, that's a very broad and wide topic that I cannot just have like specific how to win. It's like it's a lot of work. You know, even they come a lot of campaign of topic of BTS is not that success. You know, so they do it a lot of times. They get the learning, and then they evolving through the times. And now it's be solid, and they build already very strong positioning on that. But they still jump into another segment as well. For example, like the kid shoes is still not there yet, or the fashion shoes, they're still not there yet. They're just winning on, you know, the very local, well-designed sneakers. So that's why they still have a lot of things to do. You know, winning in one position is not like the winning the whole battles in here. So the roles of the marketing is still need to be evolving as well.
I think we discussed before that, because I threw a question to Tom before the event started, that you have a lot of nice case studies here. So what is the successful formula for brands, right? And Tom said, well, it's hard to, if I know the formula, I'll be rich already. I don't want to, you know, I will not, you know, so I think it's hard to form what is successful formula to be success or stand out from the crowd, especially like a very big crowd now, like e-commerce. But I guess understand the consumer insight, the one that Tom Story mentioned earlier in the presentation, that in the meeting. So how the Western consumers work or consume e-commerce versus the Asian one, and therefore the shop entertaining, right? So that's like a new terms for Asia. And if any event is not, it's just more entertaining and shopping together. It's not just shopping itself. So I guess it's based on what is it the consumer in that group or that brand. If we understand them in a insightful way, then we'll find a way to stand out for that group of people.
Actually, there's one formula. I'm not saying the formula. What one trick a lot of brands is doing to win the market at the very beginning is the promotions. So if you have enough of resources, you just pull it out, you just burn the money, cut the half price, and then you will get the market. But is it sustainable or not? Do the people really loyal to your brands or not is another story. You see a lot in, especially for digital, like e-commerce, food, health delivering, food deliveries, things like that. They do a lot of promotions to acquire a user, and that's work all the times, right? But for the long-term periods, that always be the questions.
Okay, so I think we have last two questions. Maybe one for online, one here. If you guys want to ask Thông. The next question is, what do you think about potential of e-payment market in Vietnam? How diversifying e-payment methods can push consumer changing to e-commerce? Do you want me to repeat?
Yeah, I understand the question. I just want to form up my answer. For the first part is what is the potentials of the e-commerce? I think it's huge. You know, we still it's only 20% of the markets have the wallets, but it's not that frequent. Normally, when we talk about the e-wallets, we see we want to measure the share of wallets. It means that when you spend the money, how many % of the spending is come through the e-wallets, and now the percentage is very small. Even the people use, but it's only used for the several use case, for example, like e-commerce, telco, billings, and you know, so on. But for the daily transaction stuff, it's still a lot based on cash, and that's the potential that we want to tap it in. And I think it's still, you know, very, very baby step of this in Vietnam. And when it's come to that, it will be benefit a lot. It will become the platform. The payment itself can be the platform for the whole other industry. E-commerce, of course, will be benefit out of that. It will have to reduce the cash on delivery, and also we see that the people who use the e-wallet, actually they have more transaction and more frequent in terms of the paying versus the people who use the cash. And you know, basically when you know the consumer, they know, you know what is their spending. There's a lot of things you can sell to them. You can already see that a lot of e-wallets, they start selling the insurance, the financing services. They do a lot of you know, the ticket, movies, anything that you can pay using the money, you can put it into the wallets, and the benefit out of that is huge. And the numbers of data, the insightful we get out of that, and the monetization to become, you know, as the next step. It's a very very solid path to go.
Yeah, so it's not just the quantity or percentage of people sign in. So Tan had 10 apps on e-wallet, but she hardly spend like, you know, $10 per month. Is not worth it, right? So just the quality of payment, or the quality, or the number of money they spend on the e-wallet, that's count, and that is a huge potential for the market. Okay, the last questions, guys. Okay, we don't have it here. I'll read it out loud for the online one. It will be in Vietnamese, so I will need a bit of translation. So, or using Teams, Tan. So the consumers right now, do they have any perception about protecting their personal information on e-commerce? Are they worried, like, oh, should I give out my credit card or whatever?
Yes, I think they're more concerned when it's come to the payment. For the e-wallets, you know, they have so much more other concern about the product, about the transactions than personal information. Of course, when it's come to the payment, you know, your credit card, your personal information, your address, and so on, to be more harmful for just the e-wallet, or for just the e-commerce. So yes, the consumer, when it's come to anything new, they kind of conservative. But I think in general, the Vietnamese people is quite open-minded. They maybe have some kind of concern in that, but when they they see it, they understand about the benefit of that, and they spend time, they see the people around them to start using it, and then it will come later on. So a lot of education will be take part to get to win the consumer in that sense. But yeah, it's still there. But for me, it's not like the barriers. It's not like the block, roadblock. It's something that you need to overcome during the times.
Very good. Thank you very much, Thông, for
Thank you.
spending your time here, and I hope you guys, both in our theater and online, find this section useful. And again, if any questions that will have been answered, we will get back to you after this section by online. Okay.
Thank you.
Goodbye and have a nice day.